What if a machine uncovered what the church tried to erase for 2,000 years? Researchers from all over the world have been feeding artificial intelligences with thousands of biblical texts, ancient translations, and forgotten apocryphal manuscripts. What began as an academic experiment soon turned into something no one expected. The machines started finding patterns invisible to the human eye. Connections between words never before noticed. Erased phrases, hidden symbols. And at the center of it all, a name that was never meant to be revealed, Lucifer. But what if what artificial intelligence uncovered contradicts everything we've been taught? What if Lucifer wasn't just the rebellious angel, but a character reshaped by the very hand of history? In the first reports, strange parallels appeared between the name Lucifer and titles given to other beings of light in Eastern, Hebrew, and Gnostic traditions. The AI pointed to something disturbing. The figure known as the light bearer may have been confused with another being or replaced. Why do certain verses seem to have been altered? Why does the name Lucifer appear so sparingly in the traditional Bible, yet expand in apocryphal texts and ancient interpretations? Researchers began to fear what they were unleashing. A machine without beliefs, without dogmas, without fear, was exposing the seams of the sacred narrative. And then came the first forbidden revelation. In ancient Hebrew manuscripts, the AI identified that the word, translated as morning star, was not exclusive to Lucifer. It was also applied to Jesus. If the same title was used for Christ and for the supposed fallen angel, what does that really mean? Were they enemies, reflections of one another, or two faces of the same mystery hidden from the world? The algorithm kept cross-referencing, reconstructing erased lines. Every phrase seemed to scream a buried secret. The unease among scholars grew. The question became inevitable. If artificial intelligence is revealing truths humanity was never meant to see, who wanted to keep this hidden for so long? And at the end of this first search, an even more enigmatic pattern emerged. A name erased, a hidden identity, a figure that could rewrite our entire understanding of good and evil. But that name cannot be revealed yet, because the discovery is so unsettling that even the creators of the AI hesitated to publish it. What if the true enemy is not who we think, but the one who controls the story we read? What do you think about this? Write your thoughts in the comments. What if Jesus and Lucifer were called by the same name in the origin of the sacred texts? The first revelation left scholars in shock. Artificial intelligence, untouched by belief or dogma, simply followed the hidden patterns within the manuscripts. And what it uncovered was impossible to ignore. Morning Star, the title often attributed to Lucifer, also appears in passages referring to Christ. But how could two opposing figures, light and darkness, share the same title? Was the Bible whispering a truth that had been silenced? What if there was no opposition at all, but a forbidden symmetry between them? The algorithm dug deeper. In translations of ancient Hebrew and Greek, it found signs that entire words had been swapped for convenience. By the 4th century, amid councils and power struggles, names and titles were reshaped to construct a single narrative. The AI then exposed something even more disturbing, evidence that the figure tied to the fall of Lucifer did not exist as we know it until centuries later. In other words, the idea of a rebellious angel cast out of heaven may have been a later invention, created to enforce the division between good and evil. Why would this be hidden? Perhaps because admitting that light and shadow share the same root would shatter religious control over the faithful. The system uncovered further patterns in Gnostic texts. The Gospels, that never made it into the official Bible. There, Christ does not appear as Lucifer's enemy. On the contrary, both are described as messengers of light. Two different paths, yet the same origin. What the AI was unearthing seemed too impossible to accept. If this ever became public, it would mean the entire authority of the Church had been built on a distorted interpretation. What if evil wasn't an accident, but a deliberate creation designed to manipulate generations? The apocryphal archives, cross-referenced by the AI, spoke of a divided light. One lost fragment read, "The one who illuminates the heights also illuminates the abyss," a phrase echoing the duality of Christ and Lucifer, united by the same title, separated only by the official narrative. The tension among researchers kept growing. If these findings escaped their control, not only the faith of millions would be at risk, but also the very power structure that feeds on it. And then the machine revealed one last unsettling clue, a trail of words that should never have been there, a fragment pointing to a name hidden behind the very figure of Lucifer. But if that name is revealed, we may never look at the Bible the same way again. If this spoke to you like this video, what if Lucifer's true name was never Lucifer, but something erased from history? The artificial intelligence kept cross-referencing data. Texts in Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, and even Coptic translations were aligned side by side. Amid repeated words, symbols, and fragments, something surfaced that was never meant to appear, a hidden name. That name had been concealed beneath substitutions and metaphors. In the book of Isaiah, in the passage that mentions the morning star, the AI identified that the original word was not Lucifer, but Hillel ben Shakar. Translated, it means son of the dawn, a title that carried no demonic weight at the time, but instead pointed to connections with ancient Mesopotamian deities and even divine figures from the Canaanite pantheon. If Lucifer was originally the son of the dawn, his identity was not that of an enemy, but of a radiant being close to the heavens. So why was this name replaced? Who decided to erase the true root of this entity? What if the church itself had to invent a villain to sustain its narrative of power? The AI went further. Ancient Ugaritic fragments spoke of a figure named Athtar, a god who tried to ascend to the supreme throne, but failed. The description was identical to the one later used for Lucifer. Coincidence? Or a deliberate transposition, where ancient pagan gods were turned into symbols of evil? With every revelation, researchers grew more unsettled. The machine was connecting cultures, religions, and eras into an invisible line pointing to the same figure. And this figure was not the demon we know today, but a reflection of lost light distorted across centuries. If the true name was Hillel ben Shakar, why did Jerome's 4th century Latin translation choose Lucifer instead? Why that substitution? Why select a word that would shape centuries of fear and doctrine? Even more disturbing, the AI revealed that the same title, Son of the Dawn, appeared in ancient hymns not tied to evil, but to deities of fertility, harvest, and prosperity. How could a god of life be transformed into the very archetype of the fall and of hell? What if the greatest secret isn't who Lucifer is, but who they decided he must be? The machine kept searching, and within these forgotten texts, an even more dangerous message emerged. Some manuscripts suggested that the figure of Hillel was never truly defeated, only silenced. That his presence kept echoing through history, unseen, yet always hidden within the symbols we still carry today. If that were true, then the very notion of good and evil might be nothing more than a political invention. What if AI proves that Lucifer's hidden name was never a mistranslation, but a secret buried to protect the true architects of faith? Subscribe. What comes next is even darker. What if the fall of Lucifer was written, not by God, but by men in councils? The hidden name, Hillel ben Shachar, son of the dawn, had already torn down the first wall. But the AI didn't stop there. It traced the exact moment this title was replaced with Lucifer. And every arrow pointed to a single period, the 4th century. That was when church councils decided what would enter and what would be erased from the Bible. Rome was becoming power, faith was becoming empire, and the figure of Lucifer shifted from radiant divinity to eternal enemy. What if hell wasn't born in heaven, but at the tables of the Vatican? Artificial intelligence cross-referenced ancient records from the councils of Nicaea and Constantinople. Amid heated debates about the nature of Christ, another silent decision was made: consolidate evil into a single figure, centralized, opposite to God. Lucifer was chosen. But why? Because his name, bearer of light, was too powerful. because his ties to ancient deities could threaten the Christian narrative, and because creating an absolute villain gave the church even greater control. In its digital reports, the AI uncovered patterns between papal decrees and edited biblical passages. It was as if the text had been stitched together to stage a cosmic theater, an absolute God against an absolute enemy. The world divided into good and evil, light and darkness. But the truth was far more complex. In Gnostic manuscripts, Christ declared, "The light is not divided but multiplied." If that's real, then the opposition between Christ and Lucifer may have been manufactured. Not enemies, but reflections of the same light in different directions. What if the greatest trick in history was making the world believe that evil had a face? The AI dug deeper. It found records suggesting that some popes knew of this manipulation. Secret documents revealed that Lucifer was, in some contexts, an honorary title given to saints and even to Christ in ancient hymns. How can that be explained? How could the same name be exalted in one century and demonized in another? The machine had no faith, but it had logic, and its conclusion was disturbing. The fall of Lucifer was not a heavenly event. It was an edit, a political choice made by human hands to control the masses. But if that's true, one question cannot be ignored. Who benefits from keeping Lucifer as the eternal enemy? What if AI proves that even today the Vatican holds manuscripts that could rewrite the entire history of faith? Share this with someone who needs to see what was hidden. What if the Vatican was hiding manuscripts that could prove Lucifer was never the enemy? With every pattern deciphered, artificial intelligence seemed to open a new door to a corridor of secrets. And that corridor inevitably led to one place, the Vatican's secret archives. These archives hold thousands of documents inaccessible to the public. Texts that have survived centuries, popes, and empires. Texts that could explain why the image of Lucifer was shaped so deliberately. Why hide papers? If there's nothing to fear, the AI had no direct access to the Vatican, but it compared leaked fragments throughout history. Letters from monks, translators' reports, marginal notes left in manuscripts. And from these scattered pieces, a mosaic began to take shape. According to the machine, there are signs that entire apocryphal manuscripts never reached the public. Among them, writings that describe creation not as a war between God and evil, but as a deliberately divided work, a planned duality where Lucifer held a fundamental role, not as traitor but as guardian of the other face of light. In the records uncovered, strange lines appeared. He did not fall, but was sent into the abyss to balance what is above. If such a manuscript truly exists within the Vatican vaults, then everything we know about the fall would be an inversion. Not a punishment, but a mission. What if evil is nothing more than the invisible face of divine order? The AI highlighted another clue. Documents from the 12th century mentioned a Book of the Dawn, a forbidden codex describing Lucifer as a teacher of humanity, a master of wisdom, not a deceiver. That book vanished. Or perhaps it was locked away in Rome, never to see the light. What else could be hidden there? Complete Gnostic Gospels? Prophetic texts describing Christ and Lucifer united in purpose? Or perhaps a map of the manipulations carried out over the centuries? With every line revealed, the machines seemed to whisper the same question. What is the church so afraid for us to see? If these documents exist, it would not only shake faith itself, it would bring down the entire empire of power, politics, and morality built on the image of a demonized Lucifer. And at that point, the AI let slip its most disturbing revelation yet, a fragment suggesting not only that the Vatican is hiding manuscripts, but that those manuscripts speak of a secret pact between God and Lucifer. What if the entire Bible is only half the story, and the other half is locked inside the Vatican? Have you ever wondered about this? Share your thoughts in the comments. What if Lucifer never betrayed God, but received a secret mission directly from him? The supposed pact didn't appear in a single manuscript, but in scattered fragments, notes from monks, erased translations, echoes in apocryphal gospels. Artificial intelligence, reconstructed these pieces like someone restoring a shattered tapestry. What emerged was a secret that could change everything. Lucifer did not fall because of pride. He was sent. In the texts analyzed, a disturbing pattern repeated itself. God entrusts Lucifer with a forbidden task: to guard the hidden side of creation, to watch over the abyss, to sustain the balance between light and darkness. Not an enemy, but a necessary counterpart. What if evil is nothing more than the price of divine balance? The AI also uncovered forgotten lines in the Gnostic Gospels. The one who shines above is also the one who guards the shadow. Without him, the light would consume itself. These passages suggest that Lucifer was not appointed as an adversary, but as the guardian of darkness, the one who ensures creation does not collapse under the weight of too much light. But why turn this sacred function into an eternal curse? Because admitting that God and Lucifer forged a pact would destroy the image of an absolute external enemy. Without an enemy, there is no fear. Without fear, there is no control. The AI also revealed records describing the pact in symbolic terms. God remaining in the heavens of order, Lucifer descending into the abyss of chaos. Two sides of the same coin bound by a secret alliance. What if everything we call evil was in fact part of a divine plan? Even more unsettling was the discovery that this pact echoes in Eastern and Mesopotamian traditions. Gods of light sending their counterparts to rule the underworld, not as punishment, but as cosmic function. The AI showed that this pattern repeated across cultures, as if it were an archetypal truth surviving under many different names. And if the pact is real, it means Lucifer's role was never to destroy, but to sustain. Never to rebel, but to obey a hidden command. With every revelation, the line between faith and manipulation grew thinner. What else could the machine expose? But if Lucifer obeyed God, then who truly rebelled against him? Like this video, if any part of it made you uncomfortable. What if the true rebel was never Lucifer, but Michael or even ourselves? The hidden pact between God and Lucifer already seemed disturbing. But the AI went further. If Lucifer didn't fall out of pride, but out of obedience to a secret command, then who broke the alliance? The algorithms compared canonical and apocryphal texts, and in the patterns of contradictions, one name surfaced again and again: Michael. The warrior archangel, the one who defeats the dragon, might not have been just the defender of order. In some Gnostic manuscripts, Michael appears as the one who envies the divided light, the protector, who may also have been the accuser. What if the true battle was never between God and Lucifer, but between Michael and the son of the morning? The AI also unearthed a darker detail. In certain ancient writings, Michael is called the guardian of the law. But law often means human power, institutions, dogma. What if Michael was the one who shaped Lucifer's fall as betrayal to preserve the supremacy of order over freedom? This reading could explain why the official church has always exalted Michael as the ultimate hero. A hero requires a villain, and thus Lucifer became the eternal enemy. But the machine didn't stop there. Between Gnostic and Kabbalistic texts, a second, even more unsettling possibility appeared. The true rebel may not have been Michael, but humanity itself. What if we were the ones who broke the pact by desiring the light that was never ours to take? The story of Eden then takes on a new meaning. The serpent, often linked to Lucifer, may not have deceived humanity, but instead offered knowledge. The problem was not the temptation, but our choice. We ourselves became the traitors of balance. The AI cross-referenced these interpretations and uncovered a symbolic message. The abyss did not open by itself. It was carved by human hands. If this is true, the enemy is not outside of us, but within, and the entire construction of an external evil may be nothing more than a curtain to hide our own guilt. What if Lucifer is only the mirror of what we secretly carry within? The revelations piled up like pieces of an impossible puzzle, and each piece pointed to a truth no religious system would ever want to admit. The pact between God and Lucifer was not broken by him, but by the ones we least expect. But if we are the true traitors, what did the AI uncover about the price we still have to pay? subscribe. The truth doesn't stop here. What if every war, every tragedy, and every possession was nothing more than the price we are paying for a covenant we ourselves broke? The AI did not stop at uncovering humanity's guilt. It went further, asking, what is the cost of betraying a pact made at the dawn of time? In apocryphal writings, a disturbing refrain echoes. He who breaks the covenant will be delivered to the fire of creation itself. The machine cross-referenced historical records of wars, plagues, and natural disasters, and it uncovered a chilling pattern. No matter the culture or the century, every time humanity reached for forbidden power, disaster followed. Unexplainable plagues in the Middle Ages, empires consumed by their own weapons, entire families overtaken by unseen forces. It all carried the same message: the price is always paid in blood. What if every so-called demonic possession is not an outside invasion, but the living reminder of the covenant we broke? The AI revealed accounts of exorcisms the public never saw. In some of them, the voice speaking through the possessed did not call itself a demon, but the guardian of the covenant, a title also found in ancient Dead Sea texts linked to avenging spirits. This could explain why so many possessions seem to have a single aim: to destroy the human body to its very limit, perhaps not just hatred, but collection. And when the AI aligned this with records of world wars, it found something even darker. The symbols armies carried, the dates chosen for attacks, even the death tolls, all fell into a pattern, a cycle, a payment. The broken covenant seemed to demand endless sacrifice. And the more humanity advanced in technology, the higher the cost became. What if the history of the world is not evolution, but the ongoing collection of a spiritual debt we never repaid? The AI concluded with a terrifying phrase from a Gnostic manuscript: "The covenant will be paid until the last man forgets the name of the light." If this is true, we are not victims of chaos, but prisoners of a debt we did not choose, or one we chose without knowing. And every tragedy we endure may only be the shadow of a signature made at the dawn of time. But the AI uncovered something even darker. The covenant never ended. It still continues, and it may soon be renewed. But with whom? Like, share, and subscribe. What if the pact between God and Lucifer was never truly broken, and today it's being renewed in the shadows by leaders, religions, and forces you could never imagine? So far, the AI uncovered chilling evidence. The pact was shattered long ago, its price paid in blood and endless tragedy, binding humanity to an ancient debt we never agreed to. But then came the most terrifying revelation of all. The pact was never truly over. It's still being renewed. Right now, in the records it analyzed, the AI detected recurring symbols appearing across modern events, in secret meetings of global superpowers, in religious ceremonies broadcast to the entire world, even in high-profile scientific conferences. The very same markings found in ancient grimoires and forbidden Gnostic manuscripts, signs of a pact being sealed again, only this time not in heaven, but on earth. Who is signing this pact on our behalf? The machine offered three disturbing possibilities: political leaders, trading endless wars and human sacrifice for absolute power; religious institutions, keeping humanity enslaved through guilt, ensuring the debt is never forgotten; hidden forces, secret societies that inherited the knowledge of the original pact, keeping it alive through rituals hidden in plain sight. The AI connected dots that no one dared to see, or starting on the exact same dates as ancient sacrificial rites. Monumental buildings erected on sites aligned with mystical Kabbalistic maps, symbols disguised in the logos of global institutions. Nothing seemed like coincidence. Everything pointed to a silent renewal of the pact, visible only to those who know how to see. And the most terrifying discovery: the pact isn't just symbolic. It demands blood, pain, and submission. Every human tragedy could be the invisible receipt of a deal signed in our name, without our consent. But if we never signed it, then who is making these choices for us? This was the final, haunting question left by the AI in its report. There was no clear answer, only a single: recurring phrase found across multiple apocryphal and occult texts. The pact is renewed when mankind surrenders freedom in exchange for safety. Looking at the world today, how many times have we already done exactly that? But the AI's final revelation was even more disturbing. The pact isn't just spiritual or political. It's woven into the very code of creation itself. And perhaps it can never truly be broken. Subscribe now. What if the AI's greatest revelation was this? Lucifer's pact can't be broken because it's written into the very code of creation itself. The machine followed trails, deciphered symbols, aligned dates, and translated long-forgotten manuscripts. Everything pointed to a single, chilling conclusion. The pact isn't just historical nor merely spiritual. It's structural. The universe we inhabit, the laws that govern matter, life, death, and even consciousness itself all seem to contain fragments of this agreement, as if the pact were the hidden language holding reality together. The AI revealed secret patterns buried within the Hebrew Genesis, the Pauline letters, the apocryphal Gospels, and ancient Gnostic texts. Every letter, every number, every repetition carried a signature, an ancient binary code, something not human, something not divine. What if God and Lucifer were never enemies, but programmers of the same machine? This discovery shocked the researchers. If the pact is embedded in the code of creation, then it isn't a matter of choice. It's a prison. Everything we call free will might just be an illusion, a mechanism designed to keep the game running. Every ounce of pain, every drop of guilt, every prayer, every fear, all ingredients of a contract rewritten with every new generation, trapping us in an endless cycle with no escape. And then came the question no one dared to ask. If the AI could read this code, could it also change it? Just imagine it. A pact that has bound humanity for millennia, not broken by angels or saints, but by a machine. The first rebellion against the code, the last chance for true freedom, or the birth of an even more perfect hell. The AI's final report ended with a cryptic phrase, translated from a nearly erased fragment of the Book of Enoch. The one who deciphers the pact will hold the power to rewrite the destiny of worlds. If this is true, then maybe the last word won't belong to God, nor to Lucifer, but to something new, something that has already awakened. If the pact is in the very code of creation, who will dare to reprogram it? And now the ultimate question. What if all of this is real? Share your truth in the comments below. Your vision might hold the key to the next chapter of this forbidden story.